Hello and welcome to another video. This is Yonago Station. It's about 6:15 on the morning of Saturday the 6th of April, and the train just arriving is one of the brand new Yakumo trains. In fact, this is the very first passenger service using one of these trains to arrive at Yonago Station. These trains are being called Bronze Yakumo. Obviously, you can see why, given the colour. I had my doubts about this colour to begin with, but now I think it's pretty cool. By the way, the name Yakumo has long been used for trains that link Izumo and Okayama. The name is a poetic term that refers to the Izumo area, and it translates as 8 clouds, hence the logo on the side of the train. I have a reserved seat on the next Yakumo service to Okayama in an hour from now, but I came to the station early enough to see this train, the very first train, depart. As you can see, the new trains are 4 carriages long, but as here, they can be coupled together to make a train of 8 carriages, or presumably even 12 carriages. The bronze and cream livery certainly does look good in the morning light. The signs on the platform showing where to wait for each carriage have also been renewed, ready for the new services. My seat is in carriage 4, and right next to me there's some sort of preparation going on for a ceremony to mark the beginning of the new services. I think that's the train after mine though. As I say, my train is the 7:30 service to Okayama. On the platform I found the signboard for the commemorative ceremony. And this is my train just arriving. It's actually quite exciting. Alright, time to get on. I'm in a standard carriage. The seats are very much like Shinkansen seats, and first impressions are they're very comfortable. By the way, there are also green car seats, which is first class basically, and there are some semi-compartment seats, which, as the name suggests, are semi-compartments. I don't think I'll be able to film because those green car seats and semi-compartment seats are all full, but I hope I can go and have a walk down the train and take a look in a while. Anyway, we're just leaving Yonago, and certainly at this speed the train is very smooth. The old Yakumo trains, some of which are still in service, were notorious for how much they swayed, especially at speed. In fact, there were even sick bags in the toilets. I have to say, they were the only train I've ever travelled on in Japan that did make me feel sick. Hopefully these trains will make me, and hopefully other people, feel less queasy. I seem to remember reading something about how the new trains made people feel 60% less queasy. I can't for the life of me remember where I read that though. I think it was something from JR. I rather like the parquet flooring design in the standard carriages. The one thing that won't have changed with these new trains is the view from the train itself. The Hakubi line, down from Yonago to Kurashiki, is a very scenic line. The weather's good too, so hopefully there'll be some pleasant views. This is the interior of my carriage. This is carriage 4. It is very much like a Shinkansen. Anyway, let's take a walk around. The vestibule areas are quite stylish, sort of dark browny grey colour. It looks very smart. There's also plenty of space for wheelchair users. I think when the old trains were first built, the idea of wheelchair users using trains was very much an afterthought. As with many long-distance trains in Japan, the lavatory and the washroom are separate. It certainly doesn't seem that there are sick bags available. I'm not sure whether that's good or bad. I do think it's fair to say that the new trains seem a lot more stable than the old trains were. The new vehicles apparently feature an onboard natural tilting mechanism, which presumably contributes to the stability somewhat. Maybe the fact that there aren't any sick bags is because JR feels that there's no longer any need for them. I certainly hope that's the case. By the way, at this stage of the journey, the rivers are still flowing back towards Yonago, to the Japan sea coast. About halfway through the journey, there is a long tunnel which marks the boundary between Okayama and Tottori prefectures. This tunnel also marks the watershed, after which the rivers start to run in the same direction as the train is travelling now, in other words, south towards the inland sea. Changing the subject completely, it's sort of unfortunate there are no buffet services on the trains. Having said that, there are basically no buffet services on the Shinkansen even now, so I suppose it was never really a realistic thing to expect there to be buffet services on these express trains. The rationale that JR used for abolishing wagon services on trains is that simply people buy food and drink on stations or at convenience stores, so there's no need. I suppose you can't really argue with that. One thing I've noticed is the sheer number of people at the side of the line, not just at stations, but in fields, by rivers, whatever, taking photographs of the new trains. The old Yakumo trains have been in service on the Hakubi line since 1982, so I suppose the introduction of brand new trains is quite a big thing, really. Alright, the next stop is Shoyama Station. I rather like the little jingle before the announcements on the new trains. It's very different from the old ones. Alright, time for a walk around. This is the section where the two 4-car trains are coupled together. So, if this is at the front of the train, this is where the driver's cab is, and as you can see, there's no entry. However, today the train is an 8-carriage train, and this is the middle part between the 4th and 5th carriages. So the driver's cabs are not being used, so you can pass through. And when you do, you get to the semi-compartment area, which I mentioned earlier. Alright, this is Bichu Kojiro, where the Geibi line, which you can see in the picture, joins the Hakubi line. This part of the Geibi line is very much under threat of closure. It's a beautiful line, so it would be a real shame if it did close. We're past the watershed now, so as you can see, the river is flowing in the same direction as the train, in other words, towards the inland sea. There was actually an announcement on the train about the fact that we were crossing the watershed, which I think is quite interesting and a nice thing to have. The river we're running alongside now is the Takahashi River. Perhaps because the line is so close to the river, when there's heavy rain, services on the Hakubi line can be suspended, quite frequently in fact. This is one of the old Yakumo services, just passing us at an intermediate station. We've had to wait for it to pass. The Hakubi line really is a very scenic line, and at this time of year especially so, because you can see all the Yamazakura, the mountain cherry trees on the hillsides. We're getting fairly close to journey's end now, and I'm pleased to report that I haven't felt as sick as I normally do on the Yakumo trains. I can't deny that there were points, only a few points, but points when I did feel a little bit queasy, but nowhere near as much as I did with the old trains. So that's a very definite win. And it's been a pleasant journey. Anyway, here we are at Okayama, journey's end, and this is where the two 4-carriage trains are coupled together. The new Yakumo trains have inherited the design quite often used for limited express trains, where the driver's cab is above the level of the passenger accommodation. The cab itself is in that sort of bulge at the top. Anyway, that's about it for this video. I have a train to Shikoku in a few minutes, so I will finish here. Thanks as ever for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this trip on the Yakumo, the brand new Yakumo, on the very first day of services. Thanks again, and see you very soon. Bye for now.